I want to tell you about a day that I refused to leave the hospital without a CT scan. My daughter had been sick for weeks at that point. We had been to the hospital, sent home twice, was told that it was a stomach virus. And then one day she woke up out of her sleep screaming. The kind that comes from like deep within inside the body. And I knew that this was not a normal stomach virus. So we went back to the hospital. They ordered another CT scan. My daughter had to drink contrast first. Well, what happens when you have a stomach virus and you're vomiting all over the place and you drink contrast? Well, she threw up. She threw up right at the doorway of the scanner. Like the techs and I both had to jump. The text told me that the scan had to be canceled. The protocol was that you're required to have the contrast in order to have the scan. And because she didn't hold it down, they couldn't do it. And I was like, no, like not rude, not loud, but clearly, like we are not leaving without the scan. I don't care who you have to call whoever you need to call. Like she needs this. We were told that she needs the scan. So eventually they called whoever they needed and they found a way and they proceeded to give her the scan. Well, the crazy thing is, at the time, I didn't realize that you could have a CT scan and not have contrast. So either the doctor order it with contrast or without contrast, and then they typically will do a scan with both. But thank goodness, because that scan found what had been missed by two previous visits, right? So your instinct about your child is not nothing, it's something. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to use it. So, welcome back, caregiver. Welcome back to Caregiver to Health Boss. I'm Michelle Stevens. I have spent over 20 years learning how to advocate inside a medical system that was not always designed with families like mine and mine. And everything that I'm about to share, I've learned the hard way, so you don't have to. So let me be honest with you about something. The medical system is filled with brilliant, dedicated people who are doing the absolute best that they can under real pressure and with real constraints. And even with all of that, it still has gaps. Information falls through. Specialists don't always talk to each other. Protocol can override common sense. And the parent sitting there in that room who knows their child best than any chart does, than any protocol, anything, is not always invited into the discussion, making the process the way that it should be. So it's not about blame. It's really the reality of the system that we're in. And the reality is, the most important person in the child's medical team is not the doctor. It's you. Not because you have a medical degree, not because you have something that no one else has, but you actually have what the other people in the room don't have. You have the full picture. And when you learn how to bring that full picture into every appointment, every conversation, and every decision, something shifts. I call it having a seat at the table, not just a chair in a room, an actual seat at the table where the decisions are being made about your child's life. That is what advocacy gets you. And that is what this video is about. So I'm gonna walk through the 5 rules of advocacy. So we're gonna just start with rule number 1. Know the difference between being loud and being effective, right? So my mother raised me to be effective, not loud, not just emotional, but effective. And I can be loud and I can be emotional, right? But there's a difference. You can have every feeling in the world about a situation, and that doesn't mean that your feelings aren't valid, right? But the goal in that room is to get the right outcome for your child or loved one. So that means staying clear, staying specific, asking direct questions, requiring direct answers. And when I refused to leave without that CT scan, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make it personal. I simply made it clear that we were not leaving without what my child needed. Effective. The question that always helps me get there is, what does my child need from this appointment? Not what do I want to say, not how do I feel about what just happened. What does my child need? Lead with that every single time. Rule number two, you are allowed to get a second opinion. Always. Like, I want to say that as plainly as possible. No single doctor, hospital, institution has the final word on your child. So when we were told and that a particular treatment wasn't right for Jara, we found a different team. When one hospital said no to Justin, we found a team in Texas that said yes. Dr. Jan, Dr. Wild, Dr. Price, oh my goodness, they are our like super doctor friends. We didn't just find them through a directory. We found them the way that you find the best answers in caregiving communities. So, through a parent who had walked a similar road, had passed that information along. So, that means that your community is also part of your advocacy. Stay connected, ask questions, and share what you find because the answer that you need might be sitting with someone, two phone calls, or a thread on a Facebook community away, right? So one institution's no is not the final word. It's a reason to find a different institution. All right, so rule number three, finding a specialist that does exactly what your child needs. This is the one that changed everything for us. So Jayra needed surgery. The first surgeon I spoke to described like this large procedure that really felt like exploratory surgery. He told me it wasn't. I didn't argue. I just left, cried in my car, and found a pediatric specialist at a children's hospital who described a 5 centimeter incision instead of this U-shaped incision. And then the pediatric surgeon who we actually found operates like on small bodies every day. They use techniques that are different, the instruments that are different, the precision is different. Like that distinction matters. The same principle applies across every specialty. So find a person who does exactly what your child needs, not the person who does something close to it. Close is not close enough when it's your child. Rule number four, document everything and bring it with you. So this is where being prepared changes the entire dynamic of the role. So when I started showing up to Justin's appointment with full documentation, every medication, every dosage, every surgical history, every specialist, every allergic reaction, every prior treatment, the conversation changed. It shifted. Doctor started talking to me differently, not because I had a medical degree, but because I had information. And when you have the information, you have power. When you have power, you have a voice. And when you have a voice, your child gets better care. So you need to know your child's complete diagnosis history, every medication and current diagnosis, every surgery and the date that it happened, every specialist and their contact information, every allergy, medication, environmental, like what has been tried and what the actual responses were. Not in your head, but on paper, organized with you. Because at 11 p.m. in the ER in your city or in a city that you don't even live in, you should not be trying to reconstruct your child's history from memory. This is exactly why I built the Care for Me planner and the Health Boss planner, because I learned that inside hospital rooms that a prepared parent and a unprepared parent walk out of that room with very different outcomes. All right, so rule number 5. Teach your child how to participate in their own care at every age as well as they can. So I'm gonna tell you a little story of Lady J. So and this is important and one that's like overlooked. So Jayra had rules while she was in the hospital. I established them with her very early on, like when she was around 5. So nobody is allowed to do anything to you if I am not present in the room. I don't care. That was the rule. So if a nurse came in while I stepped out, you tell them that they can come back when I return. You don't let anyone touch you. So she had a line that was in her chest and it went directly to her heart. So if it wasn't treated correctly, then it could really put an infection in there to her heart. So you don't let anybody touch your line, give you medication, or perform any procedure without me present. So she followed those instructions with with precision of someone twice her age, right? So there was a nurse that came in while I stepped out briefly. And Jayra had told her to wait till I came back. Now the crazy thing is, I was literally a couple of doors down from her hospital room. So the nurse decided that she was going to do her job anyway. Well, Lady J held her ground, and that is advocacy. Caught to a 5-year-old, practicing hospital roles, protecting her own life because her mother had taught her that she has every right to. Your child, at whatever age and ability level that they're at, right, deserves to understand their own care. So, what things are called, what's going to happen, what they can say if something feels wrong. That knowledge is not just empowering for them, it's safety. It's a safety net for both of you. So, I want to share something else that changed how I understood like this whole journey. I didn't become an advocate because I studied for it. I became one because I had no other choice. And God used every single moment of that to build something inside of me that I didn't know that I was building, right? Um, the do not assign list started. It started with Jayra. The documentation practice started with Jayra. The ability to walk into a medical room and hold my own in a conversation started in a parking lot in New Jersey where I sat in my car and I heard a whisper that just said, "You better call Jayra's pediatrician." I didn't know what I expected Dr. Cavuto to do. He was a pediatrician, he was not a surgeon. But what I learned is that when something tells you to make a move, you make the move and you trust it later. He pointed us to the right team in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia changed everything for us. That is how God works in advocacy, too. He doesn't always give you the full roadmap, He gives you the next step. And it's your job is to take it. So let me leave you with what I wish someone had told me at the very beginning of our journey. You are not a bother. You are not difficult. You are not overreacting. You are the expert on your child, and you belong in every room where decisions are being made about their life. Your instinct is not nothing, it is something. The scan that I refuse to leave without, it found what 2 previous visits had missed. The team in Texas that said yes, that changed Justin's life. The documentation that I started in a steno notebook because forgetting felt too dangerous, it became the Health Boss Planner that now helps caregivers across the country walk into their next appointment prepared. Everything that I built came from learning that a prepared, present, and informed caregiver is not optional. It is the difference between your child being protected and your child being at the mercy of whoever walks through the door. So you can do this. You were chosen for your child. And that means you're also equipped for this. So even when it doesn't feel like it, even when you're sitting there in the parking lot and you're wondering what to do next, trust the whisper. Make the move. This is the Health Boss way. So drop a comment below. What is one advocacy win that you had for your child or loved one? I want to hear it. Share this channel with a parent who needs it today. Subscribe because next week we're going somewhere that you don't want to miss. So I will see you in the next one. Until next time, caregiver.